Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a branded Despia deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck is one of the most powerful fusion decks ever created and is one of the most powerful decks to play this format. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like in your name, description, every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Aluber. Aluber is one of the best cards in the entire deck. This card is, if you believe it's normal or special summon, you can add a branded spell or trap from your deck to your hand, essentially searching branded fusion on normal or special summon, which is such a cool ability about this card because you can bring it out with branded opening or just normal summon it out to your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Fallen Avalbaz. You always want to have a copy of Fallen Avalbaz live in the deck so you can activate your copy of branded fusion, but this card is also awesome to combo with your copy of fusion deployment, so you can basically have this card as a walking super polymerization. This card is a definite 3 of in this build. We then play 2 copies of Blazing Cartesia. This card is an awesome combo piece in the deck, but I feel like 2 is totally enough for this build. And as you believe you control a Fallen Avalbaz or it's in your graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand. And during your main phase, quick effect, this card is a walking polymerization, which is amazing that it's a quick effect to instantly fusion with this card, which is just so cool. This card also has a really cool ability during the end phase. If a fusion monster was sent to your graveyard this turn, you can add this card to your hand, which is a great effect to instantly get this card back. We then play 2 copies of Quim. I feel like 2 is totally enough of this card in this particular build, and it's a really good card because this card is treated as a Dogmatica and a Despia card, meaning you can special summon this card off of your copy of Branded Opening, which is amazing that you can summon this card off of Opening, but it's really good because if it's normal or special summon, you can send a Fallen Avalbaz or one card that mentions it from your deck to the graveyard, and if a card leaves the extra deck, except during the damage step, you can target a Fallen Avalbaz or a monster that mentions it in your graveyard and special summon it, which is a crazy powerful effect. We then play a single copy of Tragedy. I feel like 1 copy of Tragedy is really all you need in this build. This card is great for searching cards, and it's a fantastic 1-of in the build. We then play a single copy of Spriggan's Kit. Kit is great in this deck as a 1-of as well, but I only feel like you need a single copy of Kit. This card can special summon itself to your side of the field, and it also searches branded spells or traps, which is really, really good. We then play a single copy of Mercurier. Mercurier is a great hand trap in this build, and it helps out a lot in this deck, especially going in for a lot of fusion plays, and this card is just a great combo piece overall in the build. We then play a single copy of Albion the Shrouded Dragon. Shrouded Dragon is great as a 1-of in this particular build. You only need a single copy of this card, but it works great with your copy of Retribution, which is why we play this card as a 1-of in the deck. We then play a single copy of the Bysteel Lubellion and a single copy of Saunir. These cards are just really good overall in this build. Being able to use your copy of your Lubellion to be able to search out Saunir and then summoning out your copy of Saunir is just really, really good, especially with when you can bring back your copy of Lubellion and get to cards like Branded Lost is just fantastic, and I love these cards in the build. They help out a lot in this deck. We then play a single copy of the Gimmick Puppet. It amazes me that this card is still at 3, but this card is crazy powerful. Being able to Gimmick Puppet lock your opponent is crazy, and just having the option in the deck to be able to do that is really, really good, which is why we play this card as a 1-of in the build, so we can hand this card to our opponent and basically lock them down, which is insane. We then play a single copy of Dark Magician, the ultimate wizard in terms of attack and defense, so that we can go in for Red Eye's Dark Dragoon. This card is amazing in the build as a 1-of, and it's fantastic to go in for your copy of Red Eye's Dark Dragoon to protect your plays, while also giving you a really big boss monster on your side of the field. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is really good in this build to get the exact card you need into the graveyard. We then play a single copy of Gold Sarcophagus. Gold Sarcophagus is crazy powerful in this deck, helping you banish one of your cards. We then play a single copy of Called by the Grave just to stop your opponent from hand trapping you while you're going through all of your plays, especially protecting cards like Branded Fusion. We then play a single copy of Branded in Red. This card is insane in the deck to help you go in for your copy of of Guardian Chimera, which is why we play this card as a 1-of in the build. We then play a single copy of Branded Lost. Branded Lost is insane because a lot of players don't know how to play around this card, which is why this card is so good. And it's just a really, really powerful fusion card that just protects your fusion plays. This card is so good because it has the ability, the activation of your cards and effects that include an effect that fusion summoned a fusion monster cannot be negated. Also, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects when a monster is fusion summoned this way, which is such a powerful effect. And if you fusion summon a fusion monster, you can add Fallen of Albaz or a monster that mentions it from your deck to your hand, which is why we play so many 1-ofs in the build. And this card is so easy to get to, which is why this card is so powerful. This card is a definite 1-of in the build, and a card you always want to get on your side of the field to protect your plays. We then play a single copy of Triple Tactics Talents. Triple Tactics Talents is really good in this deck as a 1-of because we can search it out with our copies of Thrust. We then play 3 copies of Triple Tactics Thrust. Thrust is insane. This card is one of the best cards in the entire deck because if your opponent does decide to hand trap you, you can just search Branded Fusion, which is insane, especially if they have a monster on their side of the field. We do have targets if they don't have a monster that we can set to our side of the field, but this card just basically searches Branded Fusion, which is insane. I love this card as a 3-of in the build because it helps you get to some really powerful traps that we're playing as tech cards, and it also helps you directly get to Branded Fusion, which is insane because if your opponent has activated a monster effect during this turn, you can set a spell or trap directly from your deck, or if your opponent controls a monster, you can add it to your hand instead, which is insanely powerful just to instantly get to Branded Fusion or one of our other cards that we're playing in this build. I have some really spicy cards that you're playing with this card that you can actually set to your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Fusion Deployment. Fusion Deployment is really good in this build to help you get your copy of Fallen of Albaz onto your side of the field, or Blazing Cartesia, which is usually the card they're going to use to be able to summon out with this card. But you can summon Fallen of Albaz to your side of the field, so you can basically use it as a super polymerization. We then play 3 copies of Branded Fusion, which I did just get ultimate rares of this card, so definitely give us a like for that. This card is insane. Basically, it lets you fusion summon using materials from your deck, step into all sorts of powerful fusion monsters like Mirror Jade, Dragoon, all sorts of crazy powerful cards. This card is 1 card combo in the deck and is just such a powerful fusion spell. This card is absolutely insane. You can get to this card with Triple Tactics Thrust, which is really good, and it's one of the most powerful cards in the entire game. We then play 3 copies of Branded Opening. Branded Opening is really good because you discard a card and then take a Despia monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it, but you're always special summoning it to your side of the field, so you can go in for all of your plays, like summoning out a copy of a Luber so you can search out your copy of your Branded Fusion. It's just a fantastic card overall in this build. Plus, it does give you protection for your fusion monsters, because if a fusion monster you control would be destroyed by card effects, you manage to discard from your grave instead, which is really good this format. We then play 3 copies of Super Polymerization to round out the spells. Super Poly is just really good this format, and it's really insane to just help you break boards. This card helps out a lot in the deck. It's just breaking your opponent's boards, and it's a great card to help us get a fusion monster on our side of the field. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, guys, we're going to start off with a single copy of Fusion Duplication. Fusion Duplication is really good to set off your copy of Thrust, because this card has a really cool ability that you target a fusion or a polymerization normal or quick play spell in either player's grave, banish that spell, and then apply that spell's effect when it was activated, which is really cool to be able to use your copy of Branded Fusion or one of your other fusion spells with this card. And it's a fantastic card to set off your copy of Thrust, because basically if they do hit you with a hand trap, you can still get Branded Fusion to work by activating your copy of Thrust and setting this card to your side of the field, and then banishing one of your spells from the graveyard to be able to fusion summon, which is insane. This card is really, really good in this deck. We then play a single copy of Branded Banishment. I really love this card because it's basically a trap version of Super Poly, because it has the ability to let you target a Despia monster or a level 8 or higher fusion monster in your grave, special summon it, then apply the effect to fusion summon a level 8 or higher fusion monster from your X deck by banishing fusion materials listed on it from either player's field, which just breaks your opponent's board again. You can also set this card off of Thrust, which is really, really cool. We then finally play a single copy of Retribution. We play the 1 copy of Retribution fusion because it is a counter trap, and it does work with your copy of Albion the Shrouded Dragon, which is great to be able to use with this particular card. I really like this card as a 1-of in the deck, but you only need a single copy of each of these cards. These are both thrust targets, and this is basically just to work with Shrouded Dragon, which is why we play them in the build. So that's going to do it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, guys, we're going to start off with 2 copies of Mirror Jade. Mirror Jade is insane. This card is crazy powerful. This card is so easy to make. You can fusion deployment out a copy of Albaz, get rid of an opponent's extra deck monster, make this card. It gets rid of cards off the field, and it also board wipes if your opponent deals with it, which is just absolutely crazy. You play a single copy of Lubellion. You only ever need a single copy of Lubellion. This recycles your resources so you can make fusion plays. You do have to discard a card, but you really only need a single copy of this card. We then play 2 copies of Albion. Albion is great as a 2-of. This card is basically walking Miracle Fusion, and it's great in this build because it has an awesome ability that also, if it's sent to the graveyard this turn, you can add to your hand or set a branded spell or trap from your deck, which is great to be able to search out the exact card that you need for follow-up, especially setting cards like branded and red to your side of the field, so you can go in for Guardian Chimera. We then play a single copy of Albion the Sanctifier Dragon. This card is insane. Basically, it's branded Expulsion. This is how we actually Gimmick Puppet lock our opponent, because we make this card with our copy of our Gimmick Puppet in the grave to be able to give our opponent the Gimmick Puppet, which is insane. And basically, they got rid of Expulsion, then they gave us this, which is just crazy. We then play a single copy of Ridbrom. Ridbrom is insane because it's a walking negate and a bounce, which is just so good, and can also special summon back Albaz or itself, which is just insanely good. We then play a single copy of Albalanitas. This card just eats fields that are dragons, which is just really good this format, and this card is really good overall, and I love this card as a 1-of in the build. Play a single copy of the Dusk Dragon. Dusk Dragon is great in this deck as a 1-of. I almost want to play 2 copies of this card, but there's not enough room in the extra deck, but it's really good to be able to reveal with your copy of Fusion Deployment to be able to just special summon out Cartesia from the deck, and it's also really good because if it's Fusion Summon, you can send a level 6 or higher light or dark monster from your deck or extra deck to the grave, which is really insane. Then play a single copy of Quieritis. Quieritis is great this format as well because during the main phase, quick effect, you change the attack of all monsters currently on the field to 0 until the end of the turn, except level 8 or higher fusion monsters, which is super easy to do to help you just deal with your opponent's fields, and this card is a definite 1-of in the deck. Then play a single copy of Guardian Chimera. Guardian Chimera is very easy to make with branded and red. It lets you draw cards and pop cards on the field, which is why we play it. 1 copy of Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. Dragoon is really good because this card is a walking negate. It's very easy to make in the build, and also protects your copy of the Sanctifier to guarantee you're going to get that Gimmick Puppet lock, which is really nice. You play a single copy of Dracostapalia. It's a super poly target, but you can make it regularly, which is really cool, and I like this card as well in the deck because it's a walking negate. We play a single copy of Garua and a single copy of Mud Dragon because these both are basically super poly targets, which are really good in this build. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played a branded Despia before, you should definitely give this deck a try because it's insane how powerful this deck is this format. And it's just really crazy all the plays that you can pull off with this particular build. I really love this particular deck, and it's just so cool to be able to just basically Gimmick Puppet lock your opponent and summon out cards like Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. So that's gonna do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can come part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.